Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Two words that always go together. It seems as though they cannot live without each other. Word number one, FBI, and word number two, PSYOP. And it's crazy to think just how significant, just how impactful, and just how regular these PSYOPs continue to be. From the Donald Trump-Russia collusion hoax, to the Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot, to the supposed FBI connection in January 6th, and now the totally exposed Twitter FBI connection, and the most significant story from this connection, the suppression and misinformation surrounding the Hunter Biden laptop story. It's one after another, and thanks to the Twitter files, we are finally getting a clear view into how this shadowy, corrupt system operates behind the scenes. We got Twitter Files Part 8, friends, and it continues to hit hard, bombshell after bombshell. Let me show you guys what's going on. Let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at this from Lee Fang on Twitter. Twitter Files Part 8, how Twitter quietly aided the Pentagon's covert online PSYOP campaign. Despite promises to shut down covert state-run propaganda networks, Twitter documents show that the social media giant directly assisted the US military's influence operations. Twitter has claimed for years that they make concerted efforts to detect and thwart government-backed platform manipulation. Here is Twitter testifying to Congress about its pledge to rapidly identify and shut down all state-backed covert information operations and deceptive propaganda. That's of course what they say publicly, but what they do behind the scenes, quite different. But behind the scenes, Twitter gave approval and special protection to the US military's online psychological influence ops. Despite knowledge that Pentagon propaganda accounts use covert identities, Twitter did not suspend many for around 2 years or more. Some remain active. In 2017, a US Central Command CENTCOM official sent Twitter a list of 52 Arab language accounts that we use to amplify certain messages. The official asked for priority service for 6 accounts, verification for 1, and quote, whitelist abilities for others. We have this email dated Wednesday, July 26, 2017 from Nathaniel B. Kaler, CRT CENTCOM CCJ3. Thanks, redacted name. Sure is tough to do web ops when you can't tweet. I've attached a list. The first 6 on the list are priority accounts. Ideally, we could have them verified blue checkmark and whitelisted if there is such a thing. One of them, at Yemen Current, is currently not indexing. At Justice_AR currently has a request in for verification, but haven't heard anything. The rest are accounts we use to amplify certain messages. Ideally, they could be quote whitelisted as well. Again, if it's too big an ask. The first 6 are the priority. If you need any sort of paperwork or verification from our office or SOCOM, please just let me know. And I mean, the direct language speaks for itself. Sure is tough to do quote web ops when you can't tweet. It's yet again another on-the-record lie from Twitter executives. How are we supposed to trust anything that they have said over the last couple of years under oath when it's been nothing but lies? The government isn't using Twitter to spread propaganda. Of course not, says Twitter executives. But then here we have an email from a Pentagon official requesting verification and whitelisting and phony amplification to control messaging and claiming that it's really hard to do web ops if you can't tweet. Another massive lie. The Twitter Files Part 8 thread continues, but I don't necessarily want to spend most of the video reading through. Plus, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already read Twitter Files Part 8, or you can go and read it yourself. The first couple of tweets are good enough and you can pretty much get the picture. Twitter directly aided the Pentagon in its covert online propaganda campaign. It makes you question everything, all of the narratives, all of this information that we are fed from social media and media, all of it which seems to constantly push one direction, one specific narrative, or groups of narrative that all move in the same direction. It makes you question how much of it is manufactured, how much of our reality, of our political reality, our news reality, our information reality is organic, genuine, and how much of it is just a massive PSYOP campaign. All roads seem to constantly lead to the federal government and federal agencies. And hypocritically, it's the exact type of thing that we spend so much time criticizing foreign nations for. Whether it be Russia, China, Iran, we constantly criticize and make claims about these nations using spy networks and government agencies to control narratives and control ideas, control information, use propaganda to steer the collective mind of the populace. But it seems as though we're always learning that the exact same thing is happening here. And it makes you think about that connection. I mean, the leftist hive mind, for instance. They're all like a bunch of mindless NPC drones pushing and promoting whatever the current thing is. Are they just victims of the next FBI, Pentagon, CIA psyop? It seems as though this might actually be the case. It seems as though the Western world might not be as free-thinking as initially thought. All of the most mainstream narratives, all of the discussion, all of the talking points that have dominated the media and political sphere over the last however many years, but it's probably been going on for decades, but especially over the last 6 years, since Donald Trump won in 2016, it seems as though it's ramped up big time. Well, almost all of the narratives, talking points, and discussion points seem to trace back to federal agencies. And of course, social media and media. There seems to be some sort of collusion network between these agencies and the media to all promote the same thing. You know, that's where these compilations come from.
Checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 We often ponder whether it's corporate interest or what's behind it all. What makes these social media companies and media companies want to pursue what can only be perceived as bad PR, bad press, as possibly the end of their business? I mean, look at the rubble of the mainstream media. Look at the current state of CNN, Twitter, and most of these social platforms. They've all taken massive hits. And so you question what the motive is, going woke, censoring speech and whatnot. But it seems, at least based on the information that we have now, that the real motivation is the federal government behind them. Take the most powerful corporation known to mankind in existence. It pales in comparison to the US government. The government has the ability to print money, tax the population, and collect trillions of dollars at will, create laws and regulate, wage wars. No matter how powerful of a corporation, no matter how rich an individual or an entity, if the federal government comes knocking at your door and says dance, well then you're going to put your tap shoes on real quick. And behind all of the narratives, behind all of the censorship, we continue to find one common denominator: federal agencies. Whether it's the deplatforming or censoring of individuals, unapproved thought. You think it's a coincidence that all of these social media platforms on the same day decided to deplatform Alex Jones all at the same time? I don't think so. You think it's a coincidence that when the feds lose control of a narrative, all of a sudden, all of the social media platforms at the exact same time implement policy changes that dictate what you can and cannot speak about so they can maintain control over the narrative? It seems as though it's no coincidence at all. Mark Zuckerberg let the cat out of the bag on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Elon Musk unleashed the friggin' Kraken with this Twitter Files expose. We're living in a world of corruption and propaganda. We're living in a narrative fairy tale. At least it seems as though most people are. At this point, after we've seen all this, moving forward, it's going to be hard to believe anything. What is truth and what is fiction? Federal agencies are using social media, the media, and celebrities to craft narratives and to promote propaganda. I mean, let's do a little flashback here. Artist Moby says CIA agents asked him to spread the word about Trump and Russia. They're everywhere, it's everywhere. And so many of these narratives and so much of what the media covers always seems to be directly connected to or part of some sort of psyop. Crazy to say it, but the tinfoil hat wearers were right again. That's what I got for you guys though. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.